Welcome back, everybody. This is JJ with Thrivistry, and today we're going to talk about adding scale-ups to your workouts to challenge your more advanced members, but also not punish your newer members or people who aren't that far in their journey yet. So when we're talking about scale-ups, I think this is a really important concept for people to understand with programming, and that we don't want to take the advanced movements out of the Metcons completely because they do provide a continuous challenge for people as they've been with you longer and longer. So when you're a newer gym and you're only a year or two old, you probably only have mostly beginners. You maybe have some people transfer from other gyms, but chances are you don't have people who are really looking for those more advanced movements. And I'm talking about squat snatches in Metcons. I'm talking about kipping handstand push-ups or strict handstand push-ups. I'm talking about muscle ups. Those are the kind of the big three that most people think of when it comes to advanced movements that may show up in a Metcon. Now, instead of just kicking those movements out completely, I think what that does is it tends to make the programming more boring, right? When you've been doing this for 5, 10 years, you like to be challenged a little bit. And it's kind of fun to do something that other people can't do. And it makes you want to continue to work on those skills if they show up in the workouts. If they never show up in the workouts, people will never pursue that more advanced movement. And there is an argument whether doing those advanced movements in conditioning, like Metcon type workouts for time and stuff, is an important part of fitness. And not that you need to do muscle ups to be fit, but what it does is having those advanced challenging movements keeps it interesting, keeps you keeps you moving towards something instead of just doing more pull-ups in a row. And the ability to do a muscle up means that you have healthy shoulders, you have a certain amount of strength, you have maintained a certain body mass. So it's also a signal that all these other things are dialed in. Same thing goes for something like overhead squats. If somebody cannot do an overhead squat properly and they've been training with you for 5 or 10 years, there better be a good reason, right? That maybe it's a mechanical issue of something pathological that they're never going to be able to correct. Or is it just they haven't been working on it because it's not showing up in Metcons, or they're just being stubborn, right? So it becomes a conversation. So we want to have these advanced movements, but if you put them in the regular programming, number one, a lot of your newer people or less advanced people will be trying to do them before they're ready. And this becomes a recipe for injury and or frustration when they fail these reps. So it also puts a lot of pressure on coaches because now they have to try to teach these movements. And so for the example of muscle ups, if you have a class of 15 people and there's muscle ups in the workout, and maybe you didn't program some practice of muscle ups earlier that week or the next week like we do, then now you have to try to get everyone set up. You don't even know who's close to doing a muscle up and who can even do a ring dip, and you're trying to coach these things, and now you're trying to coach people on advanced things on muscle ups, and these other people are trying to just figure out how to adjust the straps from the rings, and it's a lot harder on the coaches to do that. So what I recommend is that you put those advanced movements in the scale up. Now we can scale up. We can scale up the movements. Most people know to do a heavier load. That's a pretty easy scale up to do. But I like to do things like if it's ring dips in the workout, maybe there's the scale up is muscle ups. If there's toes to bar, maybe it's bar muscle ups. That's another good analog scale up. If it's a power snatch, maybe it's a squat snatch. You get the idea. The key is that instead of writing it into the programming body, we put it down below as a separate thing. So the bulk of the people, the 85-95% of people aren't even going to look at that extra scale up. They're going to just read the workout and do the workout as written according to that stimulus. Now, for the people who want more challenging programming, you don't make the gym programming more challenging. You make it correct for your goals and your population, and then you add this layer of scale up. So when people want that extra scale up, or harder programming, you start pushing them toward the scale up option. And this does a couple of things. So if somebody wants more challenging programming and they're not doing the scale ups, you got to say more challenging programming. You can't even do the scale ups. So then it becomes, what can we do to get you to do those scale ups? Do you need personal training? Do you need customized programming? Do you need just to work on your schedule to be more consistent? So it becomes a conversation piece. The other thing that I like about having scale ups is when your regular people are starting to crush the workouts, you can say, hey, have you looked down at the scale ups? Maybe it's time you start trying to scale these things up. And when you have somebody who's just kind of just going through it and they're actually really talented, you might want to encourage them to do the open, to do a local competition, just for fun, because you know they'll do pretty well and they'll probably have a good experience. And so this is kind of a signal, if they can do these workouts scaled up, that maybe they should think about competing. Another reason why the scale ups are good is because you're going to have people who are able to specialize in certain movements. For example, you may have somebody who used to be a gymnast, and now, maybe it's been 5 or 10 years since she's done gymnastics, but she can do the bar muscle ups. And so in a workout, she may have to scale the barbell weight down because it's a newer movement and maybe she's not a larger person. And so physically it's more challenging to do the barbell weight at the performance level or the advanced level. But she can do the bar muscle ups and the scale up. And this is a way for her to practice that skill and maintain that skill and also look cool and get a little Instagram shout out or whatever. And so it's a way to put those people up on a pedestal a little bit and celebrate their abilities that maybe they had carryover. And the same thing goes for maybe you have a larger man, for example, who can handle the heavier barbell load, but maybe can't do some of the body weight stuff as it's written. Maybe he has to scale the ring dips. And so instead of having him do a lighter barbell load and scale the ring dips and then just do the workout faster, have him do the scale up so that he feels like he's maintaining that size and strength that he has, and he's not, he doesn't feel like the workout's watered down just because of that one thing. So it's okay for people to mix and match when you have those scale ups down below as a separate thing. The other thing about scale ups, or the last thing I'll mention, is that I like to have people, if they're going to do a scale up, it's totally fine if they scale up the first or the second round and then go to the easier stuff later on. This is a safer way to do scaling up because during the first round or 2 or 3, they're going to be more fresh. They're going to be able to perform this movement more safely and with better technique. And then, for example, bar muscle ups. If they're doing bar muscle ups and they're good on the first couple rounds, but then we start seeing the chicken wing, then we know we need to stop, rest, and then to ask them, can you do it without that chicken wing? And if they can't, okay, then just go back to toes to bar and finish the workout with toes to bar. Because if they scale up the first round, they technically scaled up the whole workout, right? So it's still a win. And then that way they can still progress on those more advanced skills, still get that extra challenge for the people who want harder or more challenging programming. And at the same time, because it's written down below, we're not making the majority of people feel like second-class citizens because they can't do these advanced movements. And we're also not putting them at risk of injury because they're trying to do it before they're ready. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button.